Phil, thank you for your time today. It's great to talk to you again since our last call. Just for the audience's purpose, could you please provide a quick introduction on your background as well as any current roles or projects that you're working on?
Yeah, cool. So thanks for having me on, first and foremost. My name's Phil. I've been coding automation since 2007, doing a lot for startups, small companies, fast-growing tech companies, and FTSE 100 corporations as well. And now I run my own AI automation agency. The sort of barrier to entry to get up and running with AI and automation now is almost non-existent. So I've just been helping sort of smaller businesses and seven-figure businesses that have got a lot on and basically time constraint. I've been helping them to set up AI-based automation to free up the time and help them to continue to grow. So that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
30-second pitch.
That's great. So is it like you come in as a more of like a fractional CTO sort of role that you come in?
Yeah, it can be that. Generally, it'll be more with an automation focus
Okay.
to sort of streamline, just figure out how we can take a business process and automate that. But yeah, like we said, one of the projects that I've gone on will probably be more of looking at how we can maximize the tech stack. So I'll be doing some coding, I'll be doing some investigation work and seeing, right, how can we move forward with what you've got already? Do you need any more additional technology? So it is a fractional CTO, but very much I try and tailor myself as a automation partner or a sort of like a business process partner. So we try and streamline parts of your business. So whatever that looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's just different with whatever industry and what's their needs at the time.
Yeah, that's what I'm finding. I think there is the two things that normally seem to be happening is they want to get up and running with automation, but they don't know where to start. So that'll be the first piece of the project is like figuring out what you're doing now and how we can automate parts of your process. Or like you say, people will be coming to me going like, we've got these 8 things that are really taking up our time, these sort of specific processes. How can we sort of streamline them now using automation? And they might have some idea what technology they want to use, but it's just kind of like going from that then to actual full-blown implementation. So there's kind of like 2 phases to it that people go through, and depending where they are in that process, we can work with them.
Yeah, that's cool. Is there like a particular industry that like you're really excited about working with, or a project that just gets you, it's so different than what you've done before, and you're trying to get your hands on some.
It's funny, I've kind of keep switching between this. I think there's nothing, any sort of one industry that I'm excited about. I think each project, doing what I do now, each project is so different. And going into different businesses and seeing what the challenges are, that's kind of like the fun part as well. It's kind of like obviously getting paid for this, but I then really enjoy the project. And I think that is the fun part of it for me, is just having that flexibility to flip between the two. But because each business has got challenges, like just for example, speaking with a property company, they've got a really long process that they have to do to sort of meet sort of industry standards and legislation. And then another challenge, I'll be chatting with a guy who's basically a broker for businesses that either they want to sell the business or someone's looking to buy a business because they've had an exit. So they're just like really interesting sort of things. And there's a lot of common occurrences across them in terms of data extraction and things like that. That's very similar, but the actual business processes and what they're trying to achieve is completely different. So it's tiny, kind of both. You're doing the repeatable thing for different people, but the project is fun because like the outcomes and the situations and the data they're trying to pull and what they do is just completely different. So yeah, that's the fun side of it. The fun side of it I do like.
Yeah, that is fun. And what's the sort of the time frame, or is it just completely dependent on a project?
It does get dependent on a project. The way I try and tell people as well is I think a lot of people, I'm probably going to upset a few people here. What I'm finding is a lot of these AI gurus are teaching young lads and young kids, young girls, how to set up AI agents, become an AI automation agency. They go and set something up, charge someone $5,000 and it never works. And that gets done very quickly in like sort of a month period. And I think it's it's annoying me because it's given the industry a bad name, like a lot of software development used to do as well. It's very similar happened in software development. And I try and tell customers, look, we're probably going to take 3 months before we've got anything of actual value, because it might take a month to get up and running, but then the next 2 months, like one of the accountants I'm working with, we've been spending 2 months reviewing the report output and going, oh, we forgot about this. Or she's like, oh yeah, there's that little caveat that we've got to think of for that customer. How do we put that in? So it could be a 3-month process before you've got something of real value that's going to bring you real benefit to the business. And then I give expectations that it could be 6 months before you're actually going like, right, we're not really actually speaking to Phil. It's just running in the background. And Phil's only going to come in if something goes wrong, or because I monitor a lot of the workflows for people as well. So I'll be proactive in saying something's broke or something's not quite working. We've fixed it, or we're going to need to revisit it because something's completely changed. All that sort of thing is an ongoing relationship that you have as well. So 3 to 6 months to answer your question quickly with a long-term partnership, instead of these people coming in, and it's getting on my nerves now, these gurus coming in, setting things up, but they never work. And it's just giving this new industry, AI automation agency, it's giving the new industry a really bad name straight out the gate, which I don't.
Yeah, yeah. And I think so there's some of the people that you're referring to is who like they've just learned N8N. They don't actually have like a computer science like degree. And then they, connect a few platforms using like the API. But if one of them stops communicating with the other and then it breaks, and then they've sold it off now. That's the workflow they've sold. But then once it breaks, they're not there to fix it.
No. That's where I think they're actually missing a trick, because if they're saying to the customer, look, it's not going to be much a month on a retainer and I'll fix it whenever it comes, they're missing that trick, because that's the way I want to operate is if we're going to work together, I want to be your partner for a long, long time and sort of react to this. I like calling it black ops. So you don't know we're there, but we're doing something in the background and it's going to be like, we've got your back. So that's the way I try and word it. And you're spot on with that. They're just coming in. And I don't think that's necessarily the problem. They're upskilling on N8N and all these tools are so new. You're not going to be able to have any sort of background in it in terms of what the tools and technology is. So I don't think that's the issue. I think they are actually just very short-sighted, and they're not looking at it from a customer point of view, like what you're trying to provide to that value to that customer. They're just looking at how can I quickly fill my bank balance up, which I think with that short-sightedness, they're actually going to leave more money on the table by doing that instead of going, right, if I look after this customer for 2 years, the amount of repeat work they're going to get from like one-off project costs and then the retainer, you're just going to make a hell of a lot more money from just one single customer instead of trying to churn out this sort of same thing for, 50 customers and then never delivering anything that's going to be used by them. So that's my view on it anyway.
Yeah. No, it's really good. Yeah. Because I think there's a lot of people who are in like the school of thought that like with all these different projects and OpenAI and all these different, GPT level coding platforms, the recent text prompter code like Replit, Lovable, because they're there, it gives a lot of people who, don't have that technical background, it makes them think, well, I probably don't need a technical founder anymore because, I can just, text prompter code this and then I'll be fine. But would you say that that's just completely, it's bullshit?
I don't think it's bullshit. So there's two things I'm going to go on about here. So Replit, I've used Replit, it's fantastic. Someone launched a startup with Replit, and I don't know whether they got paying customers, but they definitely went to a live environment and people were using the product. And I think they were offering a subscription. They then went back to Replit and said, we need to make some changes. And Replit went and deleted all production data and then lied about it. The AI inside Replit went and did that. And I think this is where exactly what you're saying. They think they don't need a technical founder or some sort of software development skills. If you're going to production and someone's going to start paying for it, like you said, for a fractional CTO, you might just need a fractional CTO to go, this is what I've done inside Replit. Right, okay, well, what I'll do is I'll get that into a production environment that Replit can't touch then. So I think that's what people are missing the trick on, where they think they completely, like, they don't need any sort of technical knowledge or history in software development. In fact, you do, but it'll just be a minimal amount. And then the second thing off the back of that is I've got a friend who started his own think they're about 18 months in. He's got his own software house, I call it. And he's working with a lot of customers to go from idea to like production. And what he's finding is businesses are coming to him with the MVP, which is the minimum viable product. So they've got something up and running, but now they don't know how to enhance it. So from his point of view, he said it's actually a really good situation to have, because the development process is a lot quicker, because this idea in the head to get it into something into production is normally difficult, while they're coming to him now with a working piece of software. So he's like, right, this is fantastic. This is how we go from this to actually what you want to get to. So it's probably taken about 2 or 3 months off the development cycle. But again, you still need that expertise from when you've gone to the first bit. So I think it is getting the barrier to entry to starting a software project is again really low. But I think you'll hit a blocker where you will actually need the expertise still. And I think that's where people, it's not bullshit like you said, but I think it is, you're going to hit a blocker that people come to anyway. You're just going to hit it faster, and you won't need the support to get to that blocker.
Yeah. No, I love Replit and Lovable. I've tested both of them, and I know a couple of people who've built some like really, really cool stuff. But from my background, so I work for a health tech company. And I've been working for them for a couple of years now. And one of the biggest things, or the biggest barriers for any tech company going into health insurance, it's about data security and
right,
whether it's like HIPAA compliance, which is a sort of compliance code in America around health data, or SOC 2 compliancy, and when I seen I think Replit is, I'm not too sure about Lovable, I've not checked, but I think Replit are SOC 2 compliance now.
Oh, right, okay.
If you pay, this monthly subscription, then you've got that data security. But it's, when you read about it, and then I was seeing, I think it's like Jaguar Land Rovers, that they've recently just been hacked, cybersecurity. And I was thinking, even like the biggest companies in the world,
Yeah.
like everyone's, you know what I mean? No one's safe really. You need the cybersecurity as well. But it's so interesting to think. And obviously with the influx of, these text prompt to code platforms, these are going to be easy targets if they don't have like a technical founder for, cyber threats and stuff from different organizations. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, especially if a lot of I see a lot of founders, even technical founders that are using these tools, they brag about using them online, saying, look at what I've been able to produce in 2 hours using this tool. And like you say, if a hacker's looking at that online and they're seeing that on Twitter or X or whatever, and they're just going like, right, well, I'll go and try and get to that. Yeah, you're leaving it open. I think security has always been a big thing in software development. It's always kind of like the last thing to think about. And it's just recurrent. Like I say, it's just rearing its ugly head again, that these tools, you don't necessarily know what's going inside these AIs and being leaked out to the internet, or what the sort of loopholes are that people can get around.
I actually spoke to someone. I was in like a pub with this person that I met, and he works in cybersecurity. And I said to him, "So, what did you think about the whole Scattered Spider? That's the cyber group that done the attack." And he was like, "It's great PR. I'll put it that way." I was just thinking, it's crazy.
Every cloud, yeah. Brilliant.
So, do you have any? Because I've seen on some of your LinkedIn posts and the achievements. Could you share with everyone some of the strategic changes or innovations that you've led? There's one example about the cloud infrastructure automation.
Yeah. So that's actually quite an old project now, but that's my background. So, like I said, we're going from 2007. First coding for a company that basically provided service for people to host websites. And then the first iteration of the sort of the technology advancement in sort of from 2000 onwards was like cloud technology, cloud computing, which we take for granted. And we'd be doing things where we'd automate an order form would come in from a customer, even an online order form. We'd be able to pull the data from that order form, set up either a dedicated infrastructure or cloud servers for people, install everything they needed on that. And then the customer would get like an email with saying like, here's how to log into your server. Here's the next steps. This is the backup schedule thing, blah, 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 all from an automated process. So as soon as salesperson got off the call, like an order could be worth like £3,000 a month. And within 90 minutes, I think there was one real good sort of metric we did. It set up 8 dedicated servers and emailed them the login details to be able to set up what they needed within 90 minutes of an order going in through. So we had like a 90-minute turnaround for a £3,000 order. So that's the sort of thing that we've been able to do. And that, I always forget the numbers of it. I can't remember whether I've gone backwards, but I think it was that added sort of 30 million value onto the business and a small tech startup in 18 months because of the product offering that it brought in. And then the recurring revenue that was able to bring in very, very quickly. It wasn't just us that did it. It was the whole marketing push. We had a dedicated account management team, all the infrastructure and tech support guys. So it was a big project across the whole company. But that's the sort of fast track that could do 18 months to like 30 million. And I was the lead developer on a lot of the back end stuff for that. So yeah, that was pretty crazy. Tough time, but yeah, like when you saw the numbers, it was like, oh, I can't wait to get my bonus this year. But
yeah. I wonder how many like hours was you able to break it down, like the ROI on even just on like a labor perspective for the company?
Yeah, so just to give an example, if you did that manually, you had a team which was a launch team, which was 3 people, and they'd have to be sitting there clicking install. So it'd probably take 90 minutes for them to do one server install. But then you potentially have to go to the data center team and go, right, can you go and switch this server on and tell me the IP address of this server and do that? So you're probably talking that 8-hour order form could potentially take sort of 2 days to get the email sending out. And they'd have to go manually send the details for that server. So you'd be drip feeding the server information to the customer as well. So it's probably, like you say, 2 days into 90 minutes, we probably managed to do on that one specific order.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think now with the tools that are coming out, that sort of, obviously not that specific example, but that sort of time saving on that sort of scale is very doable for most businesses now. If they've got a repeatable process that they can sort of document out, I think you can go and do that for yourselves. Yeah.
Yeah. It really is interesting to know, in like say even 2 years time now, just the daily daily work of like an accountant, for example. What's their day-to-day operations going to look like? Are they even going to need to, do like a tax filing for, a client of theirs, or will they just have like a ChatGPT operator model, able to just do that for them? Because that's, as a task, it's probably not the, their most difficult, like, business activity that they could be doing for the business. So interesting.
Yeah. I think going back onto that, some of the accountants I've been working with are doing a lot of the sort of parts of the reconciliation process where it's just making sure that what invoices come in and you've paid is actually to the right code inside your accounting software. And they'd have to go through sort of like 100 lines to make sure that, yeah, that's right. So you're talking, I went to the accountant and said, right, let's go 80-20 principle. Can we use AI to validate the 80% that are actually correct? And then whatever's left, can we actually do the update using AI? Will it go, well, this should be this should be this should be this? And there might be sort of 1 or 2% left where it can't actually do anything with. It's like, I don't actually know what to do with that invoice. Or you've put like limits in to go, like, if it's over £2,000, let's say, we want to do that manually because we want to make sure that this big amount of money is being allocated right and the VAT is correct on it and things like that. And that's taken, again, that's probably a 2-hour job to do that for a client into sort of a 20-minute job now for the accountant. But you've got accountants with like 50 customers. But 2 hours times 50, you're talking a lot every month, but that's now a 20-minute job and you're only focusing in on like the difficult work, the mundane's just taken off. So yeah, so I think accountancy firms and all these sort of people with that sort of repeatable process, they're just going to be able to, they're just going to spend more time on actually doing the difficult work, which I think that's always the biggest blocker. When I speak to people, that's the biggest blocker from. Yeah. We need to do this difficult bit more and just get rid of everything else.
Yeah. And then as the other, your other like ideal customer personas from your PHH Digital websites, you've got legal practices, estate agents, and consultants.
Yeah.
With legal practices, this is actually quite a funny story. So I was in America because the company that I work for, they're based over there, and I got invited to this like legal event from one of the legal companies that we have as our law firm. and they would talk. This was like 2 years ago now, and they were talking just at the time ChatGPT was new. It was like, really up and coming, and they were talking about the dangers or the risks for using it to read through documents and help build up their case. And this woman, she gave an example of so this must have been 2 years ago. I'm sure it wouldn't do this now, but 2 years ago they said that this person had obviously read some evidence in the courthouse, and it was completely made up. It was from their, the ChatGPT was reading this, obviously all this, and it tries to give all these different points, and it just pulled some fact from nowhere. But obviously the lawsuit then was void because you can't bring fake evidence to.
Yeah, 100%.
It's interesting. Hopefully in that setting they've they've made sure that doesn't happen again. But
Yeah, 100%. I think that's the thing with the legal people that I'm trying to work with. I wouldn't go near that necessarily, but I think going back to the point of that's the difficult work, so they should be focusing on that. So, like for example, what we're finding with legal firms is they build by 6-minute increments, I think it is. And what a lot of the time is the phone will keep ringing, and they'll take a 30-minute call, which is that 6-minute intervals they should be billing on, and then the phone will ring again, so they'll forget to bill that. And some of these legal firms are forgetting to bill 25% of revenue. So they're actually losing money. So I think that is where I've been sort of trying to work with legal firms, is to go like, what will happen is every time you hang up, we'll know how long that call duration is. We'll have a number of this person in the CRM. We'll automatically generate the invoice for you, and we'll draft the email using AI to say this is what's happened. So you can actually, like you say, you can focus on making sure that AI isn't lying, that the evidence is actually true, because you're not growing your legal practice because, like say, you take on another staff, they're not going to bill for 25% because of this. So I think it's taking that off to do exactly what you're saying. Make sure the evidence is right, but we know we're billing everything correctly for customers, and we don't have to worry about drafting emails and making sure the sort of admin tasks are getting done. You're hired to do the difficult work of coming up with evidence in court. So that's what you should focus on. So I think that's where I always kind of come about things, is not necessarily doing the difficult work. It's the support work that would take off the plate.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm wondering, so obviously it's like that person that used ChatGPT for that's not what it's meant for. There's, they don't have in terms of their terms and conditions, it'll say, do not use this for that setting, or, for health data or anything like that.
Yeah, 100%.
Be interesting to see in the next 2 years what products will arrive that actually have those regulations, and they say this is specifically for this, you know what I mean? Instead of, calling your doctor, you can use this service that is, specifically for this sort of, inputs and outputs. So it'll be interesting who will do that first.
Yeah. I agree. I think I've watched a few podcasts recently and they've talked about that. They've said, it's funny, the two industries I work with, the accountants and legal, a lot of people saying that's just going to be irrelevant. Because like you say, if someone figures out, right, we can go and get evidence from, I don't know, police files or case studies or whatever, and that's secure, and it's an industry regulated body, that you can just get sort of the evidence, whatever that looks like in court, produced within 30 seconds for each case. Like you say, that it's just going to be a wild time for every white collar worker. They said it was going to be blue collar workers, which is your sort of your taxi drivers, your delivery drivers, all that sort of construction work. They've said that's going to get taken away, but it's not. It's the people that got, like myself, who then got a degree and thought, I'll go and work in an office and I'll be safe. It's the white collar work that's going to get destroyed, because it's just going to be if it's knowledge work and you're just processing data, it's just going to be able to do it far faster and far quicker than maybe with accuracy as well that people can actually do.
Definitely, yeah. Well, I think it was, I forget the conference, but I seen it on Instagram the other day. It was Sam Altman talking about.
Right, okay.
And he was talking about how basically this whole new wave of artificial intelligence and the AGI, the generative tools, it will allow one person to become the first $1 billion company from just one person and a bunch of agents. And that's even
I disagree.
Yeah. But I think what he's getting at though is it's even if we're looking at it from the law perspective, you could have, a firm of 3 people, and they've got like 10 times the amount of cases because this regulated product that basically acts as their researcher and, just concludes all the different notes for each ones and, what you should say in the awards. It'll be interesting to see. But yeah, you don't think we're there yet?
No, I don't. I think he's exaggerating that. I do think he's right that you will have people with teams of agents. So, for example, for myself, with writing a blog post, that would generally be a team of, you've got a drafter, you've got someone who does the technical SEO, then someone who'll do an editing, then you might have someone that specializes in optimizing it to make sure it ranks in Google. So you've got 4 people. I've just basically created a team of agents of 4 or 5 agents that just do the same thing. And I use different LLMs to make sure it's like kind of different. One's better at this, one better than that. So I think he is right with that in terms of people will be able to reduce the team size massively. I think there will be a 1-person business that's made 100 million. But I think going from 100 million to 1 billion, I don't think you'll be able to do that because the amount of people that you're going to have to impact, the customer support, the sort of infrastructure and the sort of thing, the fallout that comes from that, I don't think 1 person would still be able to do it with a team of agents. I think there would still need to be.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a team of 10. I think it'd be a team of 5 or 10. And I think you will get to the 1-person, £100 million business that just basically a digital business, whether it's software or everything, and then they've just got agents doing everything. But I think to go from 100 million to 1 billion doesn't say, she said, oh, it's 10xing, but it's whatever. It's not. It's a crazy jump. So I think you'll need customer support, or you'll need some sort of back end infrastructure from a human point of view to get to it, I think.
Yeah.
I might
And
be
it's
wrong. I'll probably be proved wrong, but yeah, that's my opinion on it.
Yeah. And but a couple of weeks ago when we initially spoke, you were telling me about that the new project that you're working on building, is it voice agents for hotels and spas?
Yeah, that's the interesting one. Again, with similar to what we're trying to do with the legal one, where something happens after you put the phone down, can it actually handle phone calls? And there's a lot of products out there now that are being able to sort of basically book appointments for people. Basically, that's the way I try and look at it. It's that it's got something to access, which is a calendar, so it knows the slots. You've given it some constraints to go, okay, right, well, it's got to be like 60 minutes. You've got to have 15 minutes between each booking. You're not like double booking or making sure people haven't got time to go between appointments, whatever the restrictions are. And it's a case of now it can actually sort of tell someone on the under the end of the phone what the situation is. Oh, we've got this on a Tuesday morning at this time. And yeah, it's kind of can do basic booking for you. And that's the sort of things I'm looking at. There's a number of tools to it. So we mentioned NA10. That's getting good at being able to do it. But I think there's some purpose-built platforms that are, you'll just connect your calendar to it directly, connect your phone system to it, and then you can just set that up and running. And I think that's going to be a bit of a game changer for a lot of businesses, because if you're a 9-to-5 business, you're not necessarily, your customers might not be at home between 9 and 5 because they're working 9 to 5. So they get home and go, all right, I need to ring for let's say a hairdressing appointment, and they ring at 7 o'clock, but you're not there because the owner of the hairdressers. You could be losing business. Oh, I forgot to ring on my lunchtime. Well, if you've set up a 24, even if it's not 24/7, 9 till 5 or 9 till 6, you've got a human answering the phone. Out of hours, you're just paying for this agent that someone goes, oh, just ring them, see if they're open. Or then on Google, you never look shut, which is like ring for an appointment out of hours. Between this time and this time, you can ring for an appointment and it just takes a call. You're booking up your calendar without having to be there, which I think could be
that's great.
fundamental. So another good example as well, I don't think they'd ever do this. They keep using this example and I'm kind of skeptical of it, but a good one is a plumber or someone like that you're on a job, you're, I don't know, under a cabinet somewhere trying to fix a leak and your phone rings and it's someone that wants you to go around to their house because they've got some same situation. You might miss that. While if it goes like, hi, what's your problem? Oh, I've got a leak. And it'll go, oh, I'm just on a job at the minute. I'll ring you back in 15 minutes and we'll come around and sort you. You've got that sort of automated process that can deal with it.
Yeah, I didn't think of it that one. Yeah. There is a lot of use cases. Yeah. Are you thinking of creating some sort of, because obviously you know how it is in B2B, when you get a call, normally they want to see some sort of demo. Are you gonna have something ready for them to present to someone who might be interested?
Yeah, I try and do some demos. I try and always think of these ideas. I always try and do like a YouTube video and a walkthrough, like a lot of other people do, just so you've got something. And it's good for you to do that because you'll know the restrictions beforehand.
Yeah.
But it's also very difficult because you think something is a great idea and you'll pitch it to all these people, like say the plumbers, and the plumber's like, I don't care about that. So it's all very difficult to sort of, this is the use case and do a demo, but I think the demos are never wasted. So it's a fine balancing act of coming up with solutions, but also then making sure that you're actually solving proper headaches for people. Because
Yeah,
you
yeah.
could just end up tinkering with these tools, producing amazing workflows and everything. They'll be brilliant pieces of technology, but they're just not actually solving a desire for people. They're like, that's not a big enough headache in my business, so I'm not just gonna. It doesn't appeal to me, that. So
Yeah, yeah, no,
yeah,
definitely.
that's the
Yeah.
challenge. That's the challenge you got to have. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I can see the value, and I think it's just about finding the people though who also see that. So like maybe if it's just like a one person plumber who, they're quite against technology anyway, that they're not really bothered about trying to do something. They're just happy with what they've got. They've got a nice, lifestyle. They want less complexity. But then if you've got someone who's got like a team of like 50
Yeah.
people and like
100%.
they're just thinking, all right, how many hours are we actually, they've got that CEO mindset and they're thinking, well, I actually do need to kind of, apply some sort of piece of technology to improve the operations. They're the ones that are definitely going to understand the value and, be willing to try it as well.
Yeah, yeah, great example though. I think, like you said, like you've got someone that does emergency home services and they're trying to manage a lot, like 10, 15, like say 50 people. It's going to eat. They can only take so many phone calls at once, one. So it's just going to like, yeah. You could do all sorts with them, triaging it, like press one and we'll WhatsApp you back with our schedule and then you can reply back to that. Seeing that's a good use case that we can do. I've seen someone doing that as well, that you can sort of do other things from it, even if you can't necessarily don't want to take a phone call. You can still open the channels of communication in different ways to make sure that
Mm.
you're giving them a good service and you're not losing customers just because you're so busy.
Yeah,
Yeah. So there's lots of routes that people can
yeah,
take.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one experience I've had from it is I went to this hotel in Amsterdam. I think it was last year. I think it was called
Okay.
Hotel V Nesplin, and very Dutch name. While we were there, me and my girlfriend we went. So I booked a room, and then probably like a week in advance, they'd sent me a WhatsApp message, and it was a chatbot. And in the WhatsApp message, it was like multiple choice. It was like three options. It's like, do you want prosecco and roses on the beds, chocolates, and they're all ridiculously expensive as well. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and there isn't a backup option. You've got to press one though. No. Yeah. So anyway, but that was my experience of, or my first experience of like some sort of chatbot. But that was just a WhatsApp one. That wasn't like a voice agent.
Yeah.
So with your solution, it would be a step further, and it would be able to call them or just an inbound call.
So what I'm looking at is just the inbound call. So the traffic and the business that you're getting is already coming to you. It's just that if you're not able to take that incoming call, what
Mm,
can we do? So I think that's a real good one. I think there is challenges with the voice AI at the minute, but I think they're solving it very, very quickly. And
yeah,
I think, yeah, it could just be, I don't want to see a game changer because everyone says they're all game changers, but I think it just gives options to business owners who perhaps are, especially let's say you're trying to hire and the hiring process can be really long and arduous and you're not finding the right person. It could just be a case, it could be a stopgap, or it could just be, right, we're going to implement it. And then when we get someone on, we're going to just move it to sort of out of hours. So I think
yeah,
I'm looking at it from solving the inbound problem, the constraints of inbound, taking the inbound calls.
yeah,
Yeah. Because how many
yeah.
times do you ring somewhere and they're engaged? And
And
then you're like, I'll ring back again. They're engaged. So you either don't ring again or you go to a competitor or you try someone else. So I
yeah,
think it could be, even if it's very simple, like, hey, we're just currently dealing with the customers, press one and we will call you back. Something like that. Could be really simple.
yeah, 100%. And
Yeah.
it's like definitely as well with like, like a cruise, for example, they've got like 15 restaurants on the cruise ship and everyone's ringing similar numbers, but there's so stretched with all the employees that, if they could have some sort of automation in place that would relieve a lot of stress for the hostess or the person that is also being a waiter or a waitress. And
Yeah,
then,
yeah, yeah.
but you know what I mean? Even like from like a, employee morale perspective, it's really good for them because it alleviates a bit of pressure off them, and then they can focus on the actual one-to-one human interactions.
Yeah, exactly. You're spot on though. The human interaction. What's the difficult conversations you need to be having to build up a relationship with a customer? Could be a nice conversation, but it's going to be long. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What can it take off your plate?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And in reality, they're only bothered about the meal and the experience itself, not the phone call. So, if they can just focus on the highest value interaction rather than just trying to find a time when you can have the meal.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Because like you say, like if you get someone in the door and you treat them well, they do a TripAdvisor review and they come back 3 times and tell all the mates. Win-win. That. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
one of the topics that I was going to speak to was about the hidden cost of tool switching in early stage companies.
Hmm.
Just from like your experience, it's because you've got a lot of different sorts of markets and industries that you serve. It's like when they're trying to understand what's the best foot forward with tools and softwares, it's hard to understand, what's necessary and what's just like a nice to have. Do you, from like your consultancy perspective with these companies, do they ever come to you and ask, which do you think in my industry I absolutely need and which is just like a nice to have automation or software?
Ooh, tough question that. They've been doing studies, and I've thought this a while, but quite a few people have backed this up. Businesses, when they use a software product, they only maximize 60% of the features in there. So I think regardless of even when you're talking about switching, I think even if they go down a route of using a product, they're probably not maximizing it. So I think that's the first port of call is try and look at what you're already paying for before any of our suggestions. So some of the businesses I work with, I'll find out what the tool is first. I'll say, what have you got already? And then it's a case of researching what that is. So to minimize what you're saying though, the tooling switching, how can we reduce that by just getting the most out of what you've got already? Then it is, from my point of view, I'll recommend tools that I'm becoming an expert in. So what I spent sort of 3 months doing with the agency, even before I was making money, I was spending a fortune on tooling,
Really?
just from a research point of view. It was getting up into the thousands to go, right, what's this good at? What's that good at? What can I do with this tool? Is this automation tool better for this tool for like onboarding, connecting to products? But then sort of with NA10 had the AI agents very quickly. But is that more powerful than this bit? So that's the way I'd recommend it to people is that I become an expert in these tools. This will sort of, the switching cost will be reduced because I will bridge that gap. So that's the way I kind of go about it. If they do want to kind of go down a brand new tool that they've seen that's, let's say, industry specific to say, we know it can do this because other people in our industry are using it, then I'll try and take on that opportunity cost as part of the project to go, right, well, I'll figure it out using my technical knowledge so we can deliver something that you get your value from first. Because again, it probably takes me less time to get to the 60% than they would as a business.
Yeah.
Because they're too busy running the business and doing the day-to-day, that 60% could take 3 months. Well, it could take me 3 weeks because I've dedicated my entire time on the project to figuring out that tooling. So I think it's not an easy one, but I think sort of the 3-step plan is always like maximize what you've got already, connect with a partner that can advise you on, we're an expert in this, so let's try this first. Or the third point call would be, right, we want to use this. You go away and figure it out for us. So I think them went around the houses to answer it very quickly, but that's the sort of the plan. So
Yeah. And that
yeah,
goes back to the sort of Black Ops service that you provide.
yeah, exactly, yeah, yeah. You're just going to go. We need to use this. So like going back to let's say your legal example, where there'll be like this new AI tool solves a hell of a lot of problems with evidence gathering. We want to start using it, but we're too busy being in court or whatever. Yeah, just come to me and say, right, we need you to research this and go figure that out. And it's just like, right, I'll come back in 3 weeks with a report. And then you're like, right, cool. The operation's complete then, like you said, Black Ops, done and dusted. So yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah. Well, to wrap it up for today, thanks for your time today, Phil. But
Pleasure.
what's the focus for the next 12 to 18 months with PHH Digital?
I've got some revenue goals that I want to get to, which is
Okay.
for me difficult one. I actually I think my goals would be I try, at the minute we come into a project and it's very custom. And like I say, we try and work with you and figure out what we can do for your business. But I think being able to have a few more productized services. So what I'm always thinking about is like client onboarding and then being the flexibility to put that into sort of any business. So I think the challenge for me in the product roadmap I've had for a few months now is what's the sort of things we can set up where the customization is just for your business instead of doing the full process. So it's like we're having trouble regardless of what industry. So accountants, legal firms, and let's say like hairdressers are trouble onboarding people and getting their details in. We've got a sort of a workflow that does 80% of that legwork from, and then it's just our case of integrating it into their current system. So I think that's the sort of roadmap I'd love to get to, where we've just got a stream of solutions that you can just come to us, pick and choose, and then part of the call is just figuring out how we integrate into your business instead of doing the full process. So that's where I'd love to get to. What did you say, 12 to 18 months? I think if I got to managed to get 2 or 3 of them by 12 months and we were kind of like getting regular customers from and working with people more and more, I think that'd be amazing. That'd be an amazing place to be.
Yeah. You'll be working with the biggest hotels in Liverpool.
That'll work.
Yeah,
That'll work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully I'd never have to pay for accommodation again if we did that. That'd be amazing. So
yeah. Well, thanks for your time today, Phil.
No problem.